This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 350 for the week of December 15th, 2013. What up, hey, welcome to a holiday season here at Kanzenshuu.
We're all decked out. Are you?
The podcast.
Oh, the podcast.
Thank you. An extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site.
Kanzenshuu. You threw me all off with the whole holiday spirit.
If I say any word differently, or if anyone else says any word differently to me in the opening, I have no idea what's going on. It's like this automatic muscle reflex that can be completely interrupted. We cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening and a little bit of entertaining. My name is Mike Vegito EX. Been a bit since we had you on. We got Heath, the Hugio Sir. Sup, yo.
Well, I had to let Jake come on for a while, and Julian doesn't have enough on his plate, so
right.
I've been sharing the wealth of you.
We're sharing the mic, spread the mic around. Oh, man, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. I'm alive.
How's the snow been treating you out there?
The snow has not been too bad, unlike you people on the East Coast.
Yeah,
apparently you've been hammered. Yeah, we had one storm last weekend, and that's been about it. But it's been cold as balls here. I mean, it's been like 5 below every day, and then the wind chill is like 10, 15 below. We have highs in the low teens or just like 10 degrees.
So what you're saying is you're staying in and working on site content.
Yes, because I do that in the summer too when it's hot out.
No, any excuse. So that's actually what we're going to be talking about this week on the show. This is a very internal meta kind of episode where we're going to regroup. We're heading toward this end of the year. We have our usual stuff at the end of the year. So we want to catch up with what the site is doing itself. There's so much going on. I know if you don't read the forum, you don't catch some of this. If you don't read the website, you don't catch some of this. So we want to make sure that the podcast only listeners get a good glimpse at what is coming their way. If they do meander on over to the website, let's call this, I think we all keep tossing this phrase out there, State of the Kanzenshuu. It's the Kanzenshuu because the Kanzenshuu are apparently a series of books written by Hermes.
Yes, and we all are the producers, I guess.
I think so.
Editors.
Like approved by AT himself.
Well, of course, because we have his address. We talk to him constantly.
Constant contact with Toriyama. Yeah, that's what we're doing, man. We have big wiki talkings to talk about, and I kind of want to hit up what's in the pipeline because Julian's not here, but I work with him on all of his translation stuff. I try to keep up on all of that, and
I gave up on that long ago.
I've noticed you've been arranging all of our content on the back end, and then I further arranged the public side of it, and I've noticed that you've even abandoned some of the cleanup.
I jump in every once in a while.
Yeah.
I like to check in, just kind of see what's going on, because I have no idea what's going on with the website these days.
I can't keep track of it. I'm looking at stuff like, wait, isn't this live yet? Wait,
Julian will be like,
not sure.
Can you put this up? I'm like, I thought we put that up like 6 months ago. He's like, no, it's still sitting there.
Okay, well, we'll get to that.
Sorry.
So we'll talk a little bit about translation work we've been pumping away at. And you occasionally dive back into regular site content, myself doing the same thing. So we're going to tell you what is in the pipeline for Kanzenshuu 2014. An exciting, is it going to be the third year of the site once we hit April? Something like that?
Yeah.
Man, it feels so recent yet so long.
It really does.
Internet time doesn't apply to me anymore. Now time just flies by like it's nothing, which I guess is sort of internet time, but it feels very different.
Yeah, people will be like, you guys have been around forever. It's like, well, I guess in internet time, but to us, it's like, I don't know.
Yep. So that's what we got on deck, and we have a ton of questions from you on Twitter and Facebook about site content and just some general Dragon Ball questions. We love throwing those into the mix too. So I think what we're going to do real quick, because we haven't had an episode again in a couple of weeks, we're going to hit up some of the biggest news stories from the last couple of weeks, and then we're going to talk about Kanzenshuu content. So let's do some news here. Let us start, I guess, with a J-Star's Victory Versus, because we've had a lot of character updates here. I copy and paste my description because I wrote it once well. I'm like, that's the best way to describe it. This is the Jump franchise crossover fighting game extravaganza, J-Star's Victory Versus. This is the game coming out in March on the PS3 and the Vita exclusively in Japan. So Weekly Shonen Jump in Japan has been doing most of the character updates. not V-Jump, which I'm a little surprised by, but not entirely surprised by, because it's all series that came from Weekly Jump, really. So you figure that's where the readership is. I guess that makes sense.
But a lot of times they'll also do it in both.
They will.
That's what's really odd to me, is the fact that it's almost exclusive to Weekly Jump.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do the one page in Weekly Jump and then kind of a recap in whatever the next upcoming V-Jump is. But anyway, Weekly Jump has been the main source of information. So we have Kuroko's Basketball, and then we also have Sket Dance, 2 series I'm not familiar with. These are 2 current series, right?
I believe so.
Let's say yes.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Shows how authoritative we are about current series. Who the hell knows?
I have no idea. I live in 1990, Mike.
We mainly have support characters there. And then when we dive forward a little bit, we did have a couple more reveals for J-Stars. And that's from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I was a little bit surprised by this, but then not entirely surprised. And I think of JoJo's, I'm of the generation that thinks directly to Jotaro from the 3rd JoJo series. That's the one that got the OVA back in the 90s and always seemed to be the most popular one. However, since they did the anime reboot of JoJo's, they've done the first 2 series. So that's actually where they're taking the characters. We're getting Jonathan and Joseph, the main characters from the first and second parts there of JoJo's. And then we're also getting Meisuke Nueno from Hell Teacher Nube. Jigoku Sensei Nube, I think is his Japanese title. So there's some new characters for you. Although with the Nueno there, I guess Jump really didn't say anything about the character's gameplay. It kind of focused on JoJo's there. So there's still more details to come. Heath, I think what we were all the most excited about, theme song information for J-Stars. This is like power trio here, man.
This blows me away, but it makes me so happy.
Why don't you take it from here and tell me what's up?
So we finally find out what the opening theme song is going to be titled Fighting Stars. You know,
of course.
Gotta keep that going. Hironobu Kageyama, Dragon Ball Z.
Your friend and mine.
Everybody loves him. He's a great guy. And then we have Hiroshi Kitadani from One Piece and Akira Kushida from Kinnikuman and Toriko. So you basically take the 3 top series,
right,
smash them together. They're like, hey, you know, we did that TV special. We're all best friends now. Why don't we just do a jam project, basically, of Fighting Stars?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have.
You think back to when the game was first announced, it was Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Toriko.
Pretty
much. And then Naruto kind of got shoved down the bottom there a couple of weeks later. Like, oh,
and
right.
And then they threw in a little Bleach, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we should do Kenshin. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
So we got those 3 guys all collaborating on the opening Fighting Stars. That is super exciting to me. And I did want to note there that we did have a collaboration in the past. It was only 2 of them, though, back from Battle Stadium DON in, what was that, 2006? Feels like longer ago than that, but that sounds about right. Kageyama and Kitadani worked on that song. That never got a CD single release, or the game never got a soundtrack.
Does.
I know that. See, that's the thing, is we hope this gets a CD single or a soundtrack so we can get this song. But at the same time, if we don't, well, at least music is a higher quality on today's games. Like
somebody's going to rip it anyway.
Well, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, is even I've ripped Don't Give Up myself straight from PS2, but the quality is not the greatest compression, and it has all the fighting noises mixed into it. So I'm really hoping for a proper CD release of this. So, and then furthermore, at this point, and props to Wobbuffet for kind of doing a little bit of the math here and seeing if this lined up. We do know already that the limited edition version, or the Anisong version, is going to come packed with 21 songs, or representation from 21 series, 21 songs. Well, it turns out that we are now up to 21 series being represented in J-Stars. So we may be at the end of series being debuted here, although we do have the possibility of more characters being introduced, because we do have a few series with multiple playable characters and multiple support characters. Like Dragon Ball, we have Goku and Vegeta.
I feel like the support characters are almost starting to outweigh the main characters.
I know. A lot of them working in tandem with each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange. Like, this series is support only, and it's like, is that true representation in the series? But that's how it was back with Jump Superstars, Jump Ultimate Stars. You think back to the Death Note characters, like, what can they really do? So support support characters. That kind of makes
people.
sense. Right. I mean, but it's a support.
I will support you by writing this name in a notebook.
And that's what it was, and it was awesome. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you think about basketball characters alongside kind of these super fighter characters, and that's how it's going to work. So, Heath, do you think we still have about 3 months here till the game comes out? Do you think we're going to see more playable characters announced and maybe even some more support characters? And where do you think they'll come from?
I really have no idea at this point.
As we got 2 Dragon Balls, 2 One Piece, 2 Torikos, 2 Naruto. Bleach, Rukia is just support as far as I remember, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a possibility there. Kenshin is just Kenshin himself.
Because there's so many characters they could pull in, it's will they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what are they going to do with them? I don't know that they'll necessarily add any more playable characters, but I also think you're at the point of, if you don't, you're just going to have a bajillion support characters. And when are you going to use them all?
And I actually think they need to go more all out on the support characters to really represent all the series as best they can. I don't know.
Yeah, if you really want to get more characters in there, that is the way to go.
You still have to build all the models. I don't know. I feel like there's still room to grow in this character roster. So we're going to come at it from a Dragon Ball perspective. Are you happy with Goku and Vegeta? Would you like more playable support? What do you think?
I would love Piccolo as a playable character. Okay. But because I feel like those are the main 3 you think most people would want to play with.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm fine with those 2 if that's all they stick with. Just, the rivalry, the 2 characters, how they offset each other. Yeah, sure. I think it works well.
I mean, that's how it is. Those 3 other ones introduced as rivals. So, all right. Well, that game's out March 19th. I got mine already pre-ordered. I went all in. I did limited on the PS3 and standard on the Vita. And I did
look at you.
Quick shipping and...
Now, do you think, since it is 3 months out, that they're really going to add a whole lot of characters that they haven't already developed?
Yeah,
like
at
models?
this point, they're probably feature locked. I mean, they're...
Yeah.
So.
I would think at this point, there's not a whole lot more they can add. They're just refining things.
Yeah, but we don't know how much they're holding back. I mean, we don't know, is there a big boss character? Because that's kind of how Battle Stadium DON was, where it was Boo and Cell. There was no... kind of extra, but Frieza was in there, but Boo and Cell were the bosses, I think.
That would be kind of cool, because there are some really good main villains that you can pull in from a lot of these series.
Right, and so maybe you get a trio of bosses, something like that could be super cool. So let's, again, stick with Dragon Ball. If we're going to have maybe a core set of bosses from a couple different series from Dragon Ball, who do you think is the best choice? Thinking of J-Stars, where we think they're going with kind of the biggest, most notable characters, but then some of these choices, like Boa, okay.
Yeah. Biggest, most notable characters?
I mean, I think
you almost have to throw in Frieza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean...
Do you go with Boo? I mean...
See, I guess you could if you wanted to, but I think if they just went with Frieza, that would be fine.
All right. Well, let's leave this behind. Zenkai Battle Royale, we already knew Bardock and Kula were coming, and we got more updates on that you can check out on the website. I think that's it for video games. Let's do some quick Battle of Gods stuff. The movie's coming to PlayStation Network in Japan. That's already up, actually, right now as of recording. So you can buy it and you can rent it in HD and in standard definition. If you buy in HD, you actually get a custom theme and a chance to win a free download of Battle of Z, the upcoming fighting game. They're doing 3 on PS3 and 3 on Vita. So if you have a Japanese account and you got some cash sitting over there, that might be something you can do. Sticking with Battle of Gods, Heath, I finally got in my copy of the Hong Kong Blu-ray of Battle of Gods.
Thank God.
Took a while.
We really needed that.
We've had a lot of screenshots of the DVD subtitle track floating around out there. What are your thoughts on it from what you've seen?
I think it's hilarious.
It's weird because it's super accurate in places like Goku-sa, not San, coming from Chi-Chi. But then there's typos and there's some dubisms in there. It's like, you pick a side kind of thing. Like, where are you going with this?
I know. It's really hard to wrap your mind around because it's a legit release.
Yeah.
Why they felt the need. I mean, Hong Kong, they always add English subtitles to like everything, but they're always so atrocious. You think they could hire somebody professional enough?
No, that's not entirely true because I picked up the live-action Death Note movie box at the R3 release, and I think Nana movie 1 before it was licensed here. We bought the R3 release, and the subs on those, it's been years since I've seen them. I remember them being completely fine, like through and through, completely fine. So it's not like bootleg DVDs where you can't trust them, but...
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Some of these professional ones, you never know quite what you're getting.
Get. Okay.
Because some are really good, like you said, and some are just head scratching, almost kind of like this, where it's like somebody started translating one section, and you're like, wow, this is really good. And then they went on lunch break and somebody just jumped on the computer.
That's true. I mean, it could have been multiple people slapping work together. We really don't know. All right. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of other content that's like quasi news, but also content news and things like Victory Mission. Been keeping up on that, new translations, but we're going to talk about site content pretty much now. Any other major news you can see and think of that you want to make sure we cover here?
The only thing would be Jacko.
Yeah, we think it's delayed. The Tonkobon release theoretically due in January as per the last page of the last chapter in its original Weekly Jump run, but it's not popping up on any retailer lists. It's not on Shueisha's list, and a Japanese blogger called Shueisha received a response.
This is my favorite.
That yes, it was delayed. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to write this online, which is very bizarre for Japanese. I mean, Japanese fans typically don't do investigation like this, from what I can see, and the fact that they ran with it and published it is very, very American style. And I saw their response on Twitter in response to our post calling them an intrepid blogger. They found that amusing, so we're giving props all around there.
We like to add a little spice to some of that stuff when we write it.
So it's possible that Jacko's been delayed maybe until spring. So we will keep our eye out on that. And obviously,
I do agree with there's a great discussion going on the forum.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to jump into that. But people were talking about, well, is Toriyama possibly changing something? Is he saying, I want to add something to the end? And because for those that don't know, Jacko was actually supposed to come out the same time as Battle of Gods.
Right.
But Toriyama was so swamped, it got delayed. So who knows what's going on in his head right now? Or this could just be a publishing issue.
Yeah, it could just be business as usual with Shueisha. So
yep.
Don't know. We'll keep you apprised. All right. I think that's it for news. So
I think so.
Let's do the state of Kanzenshuu. Let's start out with what might be the biggest one for other people and certainly taking up a lot of your time right now. And we received a few questions about this in response to us talking about this is what this episode will be. Heath, when we launched Kanzenshuu, and even well before that, when we were still separate Daizenshuu EX and Kanzentai, we were batting around the idea of a wiki because the wikis that are out there, quite honestly, they're terrible. They're full of misinformation, bad citations, bad translations, secondhand information. So people want another wiki. We said, well, if we're at the forefront of accurate, authoritative fandom, well, I guess we can and perhaps should be the ones to do this. So it's been a plan.
I feel like we were just approached. And they're like, you guys need to do this.
Can you please do this? Like, well, we kind of have the site, which is sort of serving the same purpose, but not entirely. So I guess that's my starting position is why we want to do a wiki or perhaps don't want to and feel coerced into doing a wiki.
Yeah.
Is we do have such a huge site. And you think about it, we have a page for every episode, a page for every manga chapter, a page for every song, almost a page for every eye catch. Like we're almost at that level. Kanzenshuu is that deep. So my kind of back end perspective is why do we need a wiki if the website is already serving that purpose? But I do think there is a purpose there. One of that is people want to help us.
And we want them to help us so we can do less.
Right.
Sort of.
The help that they can give us, they can't really help with on the website as a whole. Like it just doesn't make sense on a variety of levels, just from pick something. And that's probably
just logistics alone.
Right. So a wiki kind of takes that place where it is community managed for the most part. I mean, obviously we're going to be the administrators on it, but then they can do things that I don't think the site could ever hope to do or possibly would ever want to do. I mean, we've always battled around the idea of an in-depth character guide. I've started one so many times. Between the four of us, we can't do a page for every character in the series, but taking the power of the masses, yes, I can write the page for a pool, which I have already done, and you have already started creating.
I think the very first page we did create was a pool.
So Kanzenshuu factoid right there. That's how we're starting this. But I mean, people can help in that regard, really flesh that out, and we don't have to worry about generating the content there. And even things like attacks. Kanzenshuu is never going to be a site where we have a page for Makanko Sapo. I mean, it'll be tied in with other things where relevant, but at least what I always envisioned for what my site would be, and now that we're all together, I never envisioned myself having a site that had a page for Makanko Sapo, you know?
And I never envisioned that for myself either.
So
it's very strenuous, not only on a web server standpoint, but just on a maintenance. To keep track of that many pages is insane to do on an individual level.
So it's still insane for a wiki to have. And of course, we're going to be looking to you folks for monetary help as well as actual, grunt work kind of help, and more about that in the future. So that's kind of where we're thinking a wiki can be effective, branded as a Kanzenshuu wiki. That's how I'm approaching this. It sounds like we're pretty much, we've talked about this offline for years now, so yes. I know we're on the same page.
I hope so at this point.
It's not like we're talking about this for the first time, folks. It just kind of sounds like that because we haven't talked publicly on the podcast this way. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're going with this. We've, for years now, been doing baby steps about, all right, theoretically, if we were to do this, here's what a page on a character could be. Is this what we want it to be? So we kind of started that way and did some suggestion threads. What do you guys think it should be? Should it look like this? Do you want to include that? No, maybe we shouldn't do this, but instead this. So we've done a lot of that very, like I said, baby step groundwork. And then Heath, in the background, you've actually been doing the administrative grunt work. And
yes.
you recently posted a thread about this that I think, again, if you don't actively read the forum and even the website as a whole, you probably haven't seen this. Do you want to give people who are listening here kind of an overview of where you're at from your side and where you think you want to go from here?
All right. Kind of just to backtrack a little bit, when we decided to merge websites, the wiki was something originally we thought we would do right away. We were going to try to have everything all at once. And it soon became very, very obvious that that was not going to be practical.
We were insane. And remember,
yes.
we pushed up our launch date because we thought it would be funny to launch on April 1st, as per Julian's idea, I think.
Yeah, I've hated him forever for that. So to get all of the website content up, to get the forum up, and to do a wiki was just way out of our grasp.
We still wouldn't be launched at this point if that's what we were going to do, yeah.
So what we ended up doing was launching the website and then eventually the forum, I think just a couple weeks later.
Yeah, it was
once we got it all ported over. And then we decided, you know what? Let's hold off on the wiki for a little while. We want the website to stabilize, people to know this is what's going on, and then we can gradually work on it so we make sure we get it right, because I really did not want to open the wiki and just have mayhem.
And remember that we're also, alongside that, trying to keep up on the news, and Battle of Gods happened in the meantime.
Yes. And that threw a big wrench in a lot of things that we were doing, not really just the wiki. But basically where we stand right now is the wiki's installed. It's up and running, the software is working great, all the kinks are out, the layout's designed, it's bridged with the site and the forum, so you'll be able to use the account that you already have. At this point, we're working on templates, help pages, policies and guidelines, style manuals, all the things that we're really going to need to make sure that everything functions properly on a member level of actually creating content. And everything that I've strived for so far in a lot of this writing has just been consistency. Unlike other wikis I've seen, and not just for the Dragon Ball franchise, but consistency is a very big issue when you have so many people editing, and it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. So we're kind of learning from others' errors, not so much mistakes, and just trying to build upon it so that we can do it the best we can. And that's kind of the approach that we take with a lot of the stuff that we do. Yeah. So I think it's working very well, and we're very, very close, and I am so happy.
Once we can kind of do that soft launch and get people actively working on some pages, because some of the stuff we're just not going to think about until we encounter it. We're trying to think of as many of these things as we can. So the plan has always been for us to do a very soft launch and have a very select group of initial editors who can start doing some of the pages. And honestly, it's a matter of trust. I mean, it was always going to be a matter of trust because you will never be able to contribute unless you're a member of the site anyway. But for this very initial part just to show where we're striving. We don't even know who these people are going to be yet, honestly. So
no, this is one thing that we have not discussed yet.
It's going to be a small group that can just start some pages like, all right, guys, now start doing a character page. Let's get that done. All right, start doing a video game page. Let's see what that looks like. Start doing the Makanko Sapo page. See what that looks like. We'll get some of those things going so we really can have all right, this works. Build off of that for the next one. Now do the Kienzan page. Now do the Super Butoden 2 page, which I will be writing. Step off, everyone.
Yes.
I'll be doing that one. So that kind of stuff. That's what we're kind of thinking right now. We have some maybe time frames we're thinking of, but it's probably best not to say anything because who the hell knows?
I know. I like to throw out some dates every once in a while just to kind of give an idea, but I'm always wary and I always say, but these plans are subject to change.
Yeah.
Due to real life events.
So don't worry about it, everyone. Yeah. That wiki that says coming soon, when we say soon, we mean like 5 years. It could be any time within there. That's soon to us.
I will say it will be in 2014 because I'm going to make that happen.
There we go. I think a soft launch with some select group members and some select pages 2014, that's easily doable at this point.
And you kind of touched upon it a little bit. But as far as editing is concerned, we are going to have the soft launch. But overall, you will have to be a member of the community. You will have to be in good standings if we've banned you or what have you. Yes, you're not going to be able to just jump on the Wikipedia and edit it, or on the wiki and edit it. And not everyone, just because you're a member, doesn't necessarily mean you'll have editing privileges. But we're going to work that out because we haven't even figured out exactly how we're going to do all of this vetting process. This is all new to everyone, and I think that's what's so fun about it.
If you want to really break it down and be totally, all right, real talk, guys, it's a matter of babysitting, and we don't have the time to babysit. So it's got to be very slow, very not rocky, and if you want it to be the best that it is, that's kind of the way it has to go. So there you go.
There's a very good reason that we made it that you have to be a member to edit these pages, and that's why, because we want it to be the best it can be, not just, I'm going to go in and vandalize the hell out of their wiki, just for fun.
So we likely won't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Knock on
wood, yes.
Right there. Is there anything else to say about that? I mean, it's a lot of theoretical stuff, but it's coming early 2014.
Yeah. I mean, I really started on a lot of this about a year ago.
Yeah.
So just to give people an idea of how long to get to the point where we are now, that's about how long it's taken. So
even just Kanzenshuu as a whole, we're talking about a year of actual coding and news porting and then having to tie all the technology together and stick up. I mean, years, whatever.
Building this from the ground up is not
Dragon Ball's
easy.
been over for over 15 years. Who cares how long it takes us? I certainly don't care.
Exactly.
So, all right, I think that covers wiki stuff. That's
a
thing that we do.
But if people have questions, go ahead and hit up that forum thread that we have. You can post things in there.
Yeah, we want to get your thoughts on these kind of what pages look like, what content should be, should not be included, that kind of stuff. All right, so another thing that we are quite well known for is all of the translation work that Jake and Julian have done over the years and continue to do. Believe it or not, we are still catching up on Battle of Gods translation stuff. Just this week, you saw 2 things from May 2013, and I think the Nakagawa Toriyama interview was March 2013.
Yeah, right before Battle of Gods came out.
Right then. So there's so much stuff. For us, it's, all right, for Julian, it's a matter of pride for him. I know it is. Whereas I'm going to translate every bit of promotional interview material that has ever existed for this movie that I am aware of existing. So that's kind of what he's been doing in the meantime, alongside all the other stuff. When we talk about translations, we're not just talking about translate this interview. We're talking about we need to report on the news. Julian's on the other side of the world. When can we line up our time to make sure that what we're posting for news is accurate, properly translated, not even just verbatim translations, just the information. There's so much stuff that goes into that kind of thing. Things like keeping up on the spin-off manga guide pages. All right, is this the title for the chapter? All right, let's make sure we know all this in the right place. This news post, is this linked to the right resource? Is this all copied and pasted appropriately? That's all translation work that goes on alongside the formal /translations on kanzenshuu.com. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of half done, continues to be done I guess if you want a little guide into how Julian does his translation stuff, what he does is actually transcribe everything. And that's so he can do some work on the train or when he's got downtime at work and at home. It's so that he doesn't have to be dragging around books with him everywhere. So
which is nice.
It's very smart. So we keep all that in a central resource, and then we kind of refer back to it.
I remember when I started transcribing everything, and now it's kind of just turned into Julian.
And it's easier for Julian to type Japanese. So it's kind of a little bit of extra work that goes into it, but it's effective because then it can be, well, was this kanji right? Let's go back and double check this, that kind of stuff. Just extra fact checking going on. There was a question recently about what information is out there, what interviews, what just info dumps exist that we don't know about because we've never seen before, just tossed out there in a weekly jump, tossed out there in a V jump. And Julian was like, well, here's a whole bunch of stuff we don't have on the site yet, but we do actually own and will come to the site eventually. We have things like there's an interview with Toriyama. Is it from the Daimao Fukatsu game on the Famicom? Yep. The guide for that. We have that. That's something that you probably didn't know existed. Well, we're going to be bringing that to the site at some point. Just a lot of little stuff like that. And we do, thankfully these days, have the amazing resource that is Picking Duck, who has every issue of Weekly Jump that Dragon Ball appeared in. So Julian, it's one of these things like, all right, go be social. But while you're over there, can you fact check this?
Yeah, it's a good thing that that quiz opportunity came up and they all became friends.
Yes.
So
that was helpful.
Thank you.
So just as I look through what is done right now, there is the Z Anime Special 2 book. There's something there that's translated. There's extra V-Jump stuff. We're usually about a month behind on V-Jump interviews lately. Part of that is the workload. Part of that is it's that weird legal territory where we're reproducing something. So we want to give it some time, but at the same time, you're translating promotional material. So isn't promoting things kind of okay? Because the whole point is that you're promoting something. So we just kind of walk that line the way that we can. We want to archive, obviously, everything that we can because information is information. Information wants to be free, man. It's not the actual quote.
It will set you free.
There's a bunch of stuff that existed back on Kanzenshuu that will port over again in some capacity. Heath, I guess let's talk Kanzenshuu translation. This is something that pops up occasionally. People are like, when's Jake gonna translate Perfect Files 2? It's like, well, Jake didn't translate Perfect File 1 in its entirety for starters. So there's kind of some misconceptions about what you have done, what does exist, what will be ported where. What is your thought right now on all of that?
Our thought has really been a lot of what we did on Kanzenshuu was something that had never been out there and we wanted people to see it. But at the same time, we started getting to the point of people wanted entire Kanzenshuu translations.
Yeah.
And that's not really what we started wanting to do.
Right. It started moving its way toward that. It's like, whoa, hold up. This isn't what we were trying to do here. So you did have things like the attack dictionary and some character bios. And I know Julian was responding about this somewhere recently. It's like, that's the kind of information that makes sense as citations in other articles or other more general encompassing guides.
That's a lot of what we were thinking we would start incorporating more into the wiki. Was a lot of things like that. So that instead of direct translations, it would be described and then you would list a citation for that specific Kanzenshuu. And then that way we're not exactly transcribing and translating and putting up verbatim unless we absolutely need to.
I mean, let's be honest. Shueisha, Namco Bandai, Funimation, we know they're looking at our site. We can't just post entire contents of things. It comes close sometimes, and it's come down on us sometimes, and we need to be cognizant of what it is that we're doing, what it is we're providing, and all that stuff. So
yeah, unfortunately, just because people want it doesn't mean we can actually do it.
Right. And none of us want to sit there and translate an entire book anyway. Not that I can translate. It takes me hours to transcribe a sentence. So you're not going to get that out of me. I'm no good there. All right. So just in terms of other translation stuff, we like to dive back and forward in time. We like the newer stuff. We like the older stuff because there's a lot of good information out there.
Which was our problem because when we first started the content dump, my idea was to go back to all the guidebooks that have come out, through the 80s and 90s and just transcribe so that we have a database, and then we could translate and add them. And we did a really good job. We started to go through all the Kanzenshuu, hit back with a lot of the Z special magazines, and then Battle of Gods came, and it just destroyed everything we were doing. It took over.
And there's things like top secret stories from GT Perfect File 2. That's the kind of thing that we will translate. Just little bits of Q&As out of the books. It's that kind of out of universe. That's where our passion is the out of universe explanations about how this came to be, what the author was thinking about it. If you're just describing a technique, I don't think, I mean, Jake, I know, enjoys some of the in-universe stuff, like the timeline. He's super big, and I appreciate that kind of stuff. But and it's tough talking about this without just diving into, look, none of us care about strength debates. So when we're asked about that kind of information, none of us really want to translate. And it always ends up, our joke on when the podcast was still Kanzenshuu EX for the longest time, I was always asking Julian, hey, can you fact check this over here? And he's like, yeah, it says Yamcha is a pretty cool guy. And that's the kind of thing people like, can you translate this? Does this say anything about their strength? And it says, Ishinran is a fearsome opponent. Like none of this stuff really says anything interesting. So lower your expectations on all that.
If you go through Kanzenshuu 7, start reading all those biographies, like 95% of it is just utter somebody trying to describe a character that was in a series.
Think of it as someone writing a catalog of like winter clothing. It's like, this will make you warmer than such and such. And imagine someone being like, well, they said that this one's 95% warmer than this over here. It's like, oh, I was just writing a description. Please don't. It's not that important. So a lot of it is where our passions, where our passions lie. That's the kind of stuff that comes next. And you get the best stuff when it's the stuff that we find interesting. So that's at least where Julian's coming from. I do want to talk a little bit about my self-insight content. One of my passions lately has been the revamped spin-off manga section of the manga guide. When we relaunched it, we had about 4 of the sections with complete individual series and chapter pages, and then we're going to move on there. And of course, all the meanwhile, Dragon Ball SD and Victory Mission have been continuing. So there's a lot of catch-up work and staying on top of it work that goes into that, in addition to things like Nekomajin, which exist as a collected whole already, and just, all right, whenever I can get to doing that page, I will do that. I've been doing the majority of my catch-up work with Victory Mission. I have pages for all the chapters ready to go, but then it's a matter of, all right, this is entirely in Japanese. Julian, write the rest of the chapter summaries we need. Do all the name puns that we need throughout this entire section. So it's a lot of work balancing that goes on with that, where it's, all right, where's your priority with this over this? My priority is always news. That's what I think I want to keep on top of the most in terms of what's getting the homepage presence. All right, I need Julian to dive into some of this. Heath, I need you to do this over here. Oh, Heath, you need me to do this? All right, I can do this. So it's a lot of, everyone's got their priority, but everyone's helping.
Yes, it's been fun delegating tasks to everyone.
It's weird where everyone delegates, but no one's the boss. I guess this is what Valve is like, apparently. So Kanzenshuu is Valve.
Pretty much. We are a fun utopian society.
We don't have a Gabe, but we all have everyone below
but we need one.
Who wants to be our Gabe? I don't really want one. I guess Toriyama's the Gabe.
He's always the Gabe.
Because he runs Kanzenshuu. I almost said Kanzenshuu EX. I almost fell into that trap. So there's spin-off guide that I'm doing, and I'm always jumping into other sections. You know, music is another one of my passions, and there's still some stuff that I thought was done that is apparently not done over there back in the music guide. So I gotta get over to that. Heath, maybe you can touch upon some manga, some anime episode pages and beyond.
Yes, the things that I started doing like 2 months ago and then stopped.
I don't know. Have you? I have no idea what's going on.
No. I've worked on them off and on, but then pretty much the last month has just been solid 100% wiki.
Yeah.
So, but before that, Julie and I went through all of the manga pages, the chapter pages, and the tankobon. Basically started listing out effective dates, sale dates, all sorts of fun stuff, listing prices for all of them, what they originally cost to buy that weekly Shonen Jump issue, what it actually would cost now,
right.
Tankobon, what it cost back then, what it costs now, all the different price changes.
It's a lot of Julian's passion falling in with what your passion is on there as well, combining. And I mean, Julian retranslated all of the, Toriyama's messages for each of the tankobon, because as it goes on, the Viz ones are just further away from reality. So,
and if you go look those up, we even listed the original Japanese, and then we also have our own English translation. And then after that, I've started going through all of the Dragon Ball Z episodes, trying to get caught up on those. Manga chapters are up through chapter 420.
Oh my
which
God.
takes you through the end of the Cell games.
The light. The end.
Woo!
A tunnel.
We are so close. And then for the Dragon Ball Z episodes, we are up into the Jinzo Ningen arc, pretty much. So I've been steadily kind of going through that.
And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, well, we need to have that.
Yeah.
We got to work. Someone's got to work on that. That needs to be there. Like, that's kind of very basic stuff. If you're going to be the all-encompassing site, you got to have a page for every episode. Well, all right.
And there will be things that will cross back and forth between the wiki and what we have on there. But a lot of this stuff we wanted to have done before so that we have a basis for things that people can actually look up on the website as reference for when they're writing.
Right. It's almost like the website is always going to be the ultimate. Like, when I say the website, I mean the main website with branches of, let's say, the forum, branches of the podcast, branch of the wiki, where the website is always the ultimate authority over all of those, where that's the style guide. This is what the episode translation is, that kind of stuff.
Yep. So that's pretty much where that sits. We'll come back to it. My plan as of right now, like, for instance, episode credits that I type out for every single episode. More than likely, I'm 99% on this right now. Will not be on the wiki, but they will be on the website.
And I mean, if they are, great, but someplace has it.
Exactly. They're there. And then each wiki page, say if there's an accompanying actual website content page that we have, they'll be linked to each other so that you can jump back and forth. So that'll be kind of nice.
Then there's all the, again, just keeping on top of things, updates that go on, things like the home video guide where, all right, Battle of Gods came out. Well, you got to have entries for all that stuff. So that's going to have a page. You did all that. Or Heath, you handled the credits. You did everything else too, like the descriptions and pictures and all that.
I've never spent more time typing up credits than when I did Battle of Gods.
Oh my God, it's never ending. It's so awful.
They listed like the lab manager of the place that developed film, and it's like, seriously? They're just crediting people's uncles and family members for the hell of it.
You can say who cares, but clearly you were the guy who cares.
Yes, unfortunately.
So there's always that kind of stuff that we got going on in the background. There's always stealth updates here and there, like you put up the rest of the Battle Power guide.
I did.
Is that our one in-universe guide that we have on the site?
Just about. I never really thought of it that way, but...
You know, Jake always had this description, which I've stolen and started using as my own, where it's, you know, people talk about the Kanzenshuu. They always only focus on the Kanzenshuu, never mind the rest of the guidebooks, where it's like, oh, battle power, blah, blah, blah. Of all the pages and all the Kanzenshuu, it's like 2 pages that focus on battle powers.
In Kanzenshuu 7.
For all of what Kanzenshuu is. It's weird that we only have the one in-universe guide.
And just think of those 2 pages in Kanzenshuu 7 that cover power levels, it's mainly just Goku. It's a fun world we live in.
And then there's all the old I put guides in quotes that Jake had typed up over the years on the forum as like test beds of things. I mean, we have a god hierarchy. We have so many other things that are anywhere between 1% and 99% done that it's, well, this just isn't important right now. This can go up whenever. So there's a ton of that kind of stuff just hanging out.
It's as our priorities shift over time.
And again, Battle of Gods ruined everything. It made everything awesome and it ruined everything.
Remember when you wanted that god hierarchy guide done?
The text is done, and then Battle of Gods came out. I was like, well, the text is no longer done, and there's no pictures. Whatever, I'll get to it whenever. So I think that's kind of where everything is in terms of content and what we're looking at for the next year, perhaps, maybe?
I think it's been a good year. Yeah. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's been a good year, and I'm really excited about 2014.
Yeah.
I think it's going to bring a lot of stuff that people may or may not have been expecting. So I'm looking forward to it. And like I've always said, as long as we're still having fun, that's really all that I care about.
Right. That's really important, is that whatever you think is super important, you want to see, if we're not having fun doing it, that whatever you want is never going to come. So with that being said, that's kind of a downer almost. I didn't mean for it to sound that way at all, because it is about having fun. I want to start wrapping things up, but we have questions from people that relate to what we were just talking about, and then some random questions. So let's take it over to questions. I'm going to go through Twitter, and then maybe Heath after that, you can hit up some Facebook ones. First one here from Willie. When is that Broly-centered episode that Mike bought that journal for coming out? I knew when I posed this question on Twitter and Facebook, a lot of questions going to be, when is this happening? The honest answer to all of that is none of us know. None of us know when anything is happening. We don't know. And that can be further answered by saying this isn't our job. And again, I don't mean this to come off as negative. This is just a blunt answer. It's Kanzenshuu isn't our job. As much as we think we have production schedules and editorial guidelines, we really don't.
We trick ourselves into thinking we do sometimes.
As you can see, the podcast has been sporadic over the last couple months because I just have not had weekends to do podcasts. So it just has not worked out. So when is that episode going to happen? That'll happen at some point.
Who knows?
I really want to do it soon. It's something I'm pretty excited about. It's just a matter of I haven't had the time to dive into these journals and do the research. So we'll move on then. Joshua asks, has there been any official clarification on Broly and the original Super Saiyan? A rumor from years back said they were related. Also, compared to normal Super Saiyan levels, where does legendary Super Saiyan hold up? Stronger than Super Saiyan 3? I don't think there's anything out there at all about Broly and the original legendary Super Saiyan. There's nothing in the movie that makes any kind of connection there, is there?
No, he's just in official guidebooks. He's just listed that way, but there's no clarification.
No, and the name of his form, as you're saying there, Joshua, is Densetsu no Super Saiyajin, legendary Super Saiyan. There, it's the name of his form and is used to describe him.
Trying to remember, it's in Kanzenshuu 6, and it lists all the various Super Saiyan stages.
Mm-hmm. Are you thinking of that like downward chart?
Yeah, the chart.
I think that's actually Kanzenshuu 10. And I know Julian was talking about this recently. Okay. It was like, it's chronological. It's not necessarily by power. And
exactly.
Because legendary
it's just basically
in a weird place.
When they show up.
Right. That's the kind of thing I always answer this, and I know you're looking for an in-universe answer. I can almost only exclusively ever answer out of universe. Someone, a form, a character, a technique is only as ever strong as it needs to be for that story to be told. So, like, there's really no answer there. I hate to give you a no answer as an answer, but there it is. Let's see, I'm going to jump around here because we don't have a whole lot of time. Connor, given the chance, would you guys prefer to see an animated adaptation of Jocko or Victory Mission? Heath, which would you rather have?
What would I prefer?
Yeah.
I would prefer Jocko.
Okay.
But I would also counter that with, I think Jocko animated would not do as well financially as Victory Mission.
I don't think Jocko animated would give us anything that the manga doesn't already give us. And while it would be neat, I don't think it would do it any extra service. If you want to talk about Victory Mission, you can dive back a few episodes back when Julie and I talked about the future Dragon Ball Heroes. I think that kind of covers everything I have to say there. So I guess I would rather see Victory Mission just to see what we can do to help sustain this franchise and get some new blood into it going forward.
So we somewhat agree on that.
I think so. And then tied in with that, John says, with Jocko being the last thing Toriyama likely draws, where do you see Toyotaro or Naho Oishi taking new Dragon Ball print content, if at all? So I guess, Heath, first question, is this the last thing Toriyama's doing, Jocko?
Possibly. I would put money down that this would more than likely be the last thing he draws, but not necessarily the last thing he writes.
Yeah, like maybe next movie, could he be involved, that kind of thing.
Or he would, say, write a story and have Naho Oishi draw it.
Right, which he's done before. So
exactly.
Where do I want them to take it? I don't know. I kind of don't have an answer. It's almost like surprise me. What you got?
I like the surprise me answer, but I know we've talked a lot in the past about elaborating on certain aspects of the story that we never really get to see.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of interesting, but knowing Toriyama, I don't think it'd work very well because his recollection of events would be terrible, and he'd probably try to retcon things or
and get himself into trouble, or no matter who it is, get themselves into trouble. Like Battle of Gods was close enough without totally hitting that getting into trouble territory. Something we've talked about a lot is I want to see Oishi unchained, and by that I mean not stuck doing SD the way that Shueisha apparently wants her to do SD. We get that little omake about what she had originally planned for a couple things. It's almost like we have an alternate intended endings with Oishi now about her original plans. I'd love to see her do whatever she wants to do, and
I feel like the gags have really...
There are no gags anymore. She's just doing Dragon Ball.
Completely gone away, and it's sad because now I feel like I've read this before.
She's literally doing Dragon Ball chapter for chapter now.
Yeah.
And that's
which is sad.
Very sad. All right, so again, we're just going to jump around. Heath, why don't you jump over to Facebook and pick out a couple that you like here?
Ryan Doyle wants to know, when is the wiki coming?
All right, done. Next question.
All right. That was an easy one. Royce wants to know, is the GT retrospective still a thing? Or did you guys silently drop it? / is Jeff dead?
We're going yearly on that, I think. It's tough, man. When everyone marries off, it's when you spend time together. Do you want to do work or do you want to socialize?
It's true. So it's kind of, you get the mixture of both.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just a matter of getting into a schedule again. It's totally not dropped. And it's just a matter of, it's been a year. Whoops, sorry.
And then Ryan, I think, has a question more directed towards you.
Oh, okay.
Which version of the upcoming game Battle of Z will you be getting? Is there any reason to import?
Yeah, the music is going to be a big thing here. If the Japanese version is going to be synthesized Kikuchi music, it's like, oh man.
Yeah, I think you almost have to import at that point.
I'm not planning on importing it, at least not right now. Maybe I'll wait for that obligatory price drop, when it drops $20.
I think that's something that you can wait on if you do get the North American version. Essentially, it's going to be the same game. If you're just getting one for the music, I would hold off maybe until price drops.
I plan on getting PS3 and Vita for what it's worth there. So,
Georgia said, do you think we'll ever see Jacko and company show up in a Dragon Ball property? Perhaps a future movie?
Something that Julian totally just noticed while rereading Victory Mission. I believe it was around the same time that Jocko was starting. Jocko and Tights can be seen in the audience in a Victory Mission chapter. And no one knew who they were at the time, because Jocko had only just started or was set to debut around that time. So there's a little hidden answer there is, yes, Jocko has shown up in something else Dragon Ball. It's just no one noticed at the time. I don't remember what chapter that was. I'd have to dig back into our hidden guide pages and see, but that's something.
Well, there's very few chapters, so
I realize. Well, there's 15 now.
Yeah.
And the tournament arc starts. That's when it actually gets a story.
And this is an interesting question, one that many people have contemplated over the years, but Damien wants to know, what is the future of Dragon Ball, say, 20 years from now?
Again, I say dive back to the future of Dragon Ball Heroes episode we did, because I think some of it's relying on that. Can Heroes sustain us for another 5-6 years and set the stage? Heath, what we know that Toei in particular is trying to do time and time again is set the basis for a third wave of fans. Kai was their primary attempt at that, and we know it didn't work at the time, but that's the kind of thing where it's, have you laid the groundwork for potential future success? They don't know yet. So a lot of it is, where is fandom and how young is fandom? So I can't project. I have no idea. I would like, honestly, and this is a really weird answer, I would like Dragon Ball to fade away for a while.
Which we've talked about in the past, because we've seen it happen before, and just look at everything that happened because it kind of faded to the background.
Yeah, give it another rest. That's kind of a weird thing. It's like, why can't Call of Duty take a year off? It's that kind of thing where even if it's diminishing returns, it still returns. And I think Dragon Ball is going to be diminishing returns for a while. We've seen that in the video games, at least, where it's just down and down and down. Oh, peak and then down and down and down and down.
Yeah.
As long as it's still making money, it doesn't make sense to give it a break. But do you push it too far where all of a sudden there's just like a gag reaction where no one wants it anymore at all? So you got to be real careful there. I think let it rest for a while it's on a high, but then it's like, well, we could get another movie in 2 years, maybe, if that's a thing that could happen. But that's not really 20 years out. So my answer is in 20 years, I'd hope we could have a like fourth wave. That would be super cool.
That would be nice.
That all of the Kanzenshuu children, as in the children of the staff members, could then be in charge of.
Oh, that's a fun story. It's story time real quick.
Okay.
So my wife has been teaching my son to do touchdown for when football teams, American football teams score.
Yeah.
And so he puts his hands up in the air like he's making a Genki Dama. And so I've taught him Genki. So now every time he does it, he yells Genki when he puts his hands out, and he actually says it, and my wife will just glare at me.
What have you done?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
So that's my story.
So, again, laying the groundwork for future success. The children of America.
You got to teach them young. And then I think we had one last question that I'll do.
Okay.
And we can both answer this one. It kind of ties into the last one, but Jose wants to know, since the 30th anniversary of Dragon Ball is coming up, do you think there will be another Dragon Ball Z movie to commemorate?
Yeah, I don't know, because a movie's a big deal, and that 30th franchise anniversary is so soon. I don't know that could work. I think had Battle of Gods come a little later, that could have been it. I don't know. I think we just need a very soft anniversary here.
I agree. And it seems like lately they haven't quite been hitting the anniversaries as hard as what they had.
No, the anniversaries have all been Shonen Jump, like Jump as a brand rather than individual franchises. Like that's where J-Stars is coming from. 5 years ago, what was it? I can't remember. That was the big thing they did for the 40th. Was it just figures?
The Jump Super Anime Tour special.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I think we're still pushing for that. Let it breathe for a little while. I think it will do things a lot of good, not only in Japan, but just internationally.
And when's the Buar Kakai coming? I mean,
yeah.
2014?
Maybe that'll hit your 30th anniversary.
Will it still be relevant? There. Who knows? I say no.
Remember when we did that thing in 2009? Yeah. That seems like so long ago, doesn't it?
Kai? Yeah.
Yes. It's only 2009, 4 years ago. And what it ended in?
11. Yeah.
11.
2 years later. Exactly 2 years later, pretty much. Well.
Good job, Toriko.
Now that we've once again brought the show to a downer to end on, sorta, not really.
But it's Kai.
Heath, that's going to wrap it up. I'm not sure what the schedule over the next couple weeks is going to be for shows, but we will be doing, and Julian has already claimed his spot on the year-end big news story recap / predictions episode. Of course, Mary is welcome on that. You are welcome on that. Jake is welcome on that. Whoever we can get in on that will be in on that episode. That's always a fun thing to do at the end of the year.
And then we'll have the lovely people out there send us in their thoughts.
Yes. Save it for now until we announce when that show is going to be. So start thinking about what your predictions will be for next year. And if you want, start diving into what you said last year and laugh at yourself like I have to do every year. It's painful.
I don't think I did very well this year.
I don't remember what I said. Sometimes we do that half-year checkup. We didn't do that this year, and I kind of consciously did that because of Battle of Gods. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what I said. Let's just wait.
I had a prediction about Battle of Gods in the U.S., like its release, and I can't even confirm it yet. So
we'll go back. We'll check on that. Yeah. So that's going to be coming within the next couple of weeks. Heath, thank you, sir. Tell the fine folks, where can they find Kanzenshuu if they don't know by now?
You can find us all over the interwebs because we're everywhere. We're in your head, your ears. But you can mostly find us at www.kanzenshuu.com and all of our social media networks that we encompass.
That's right. So I guess that brings it to a close. That's Heath over there. My name is Mike, Vegito, E to the X. We got us two. We got Julian. We got Jake. Sometimes Mary joins us on the show. We got all of our extended friends and family. Bringing 2013 to an exciting close. Weird year, man. Weird year.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get back to one of those even years.
Yeah, 2014. Let's kick it in style. So I'm looking forward to that. Kanzenshuu.com. That's it. Heath, I guess, say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. It will be nice to see you the next time.